Hello, hello, hello. Hope everyone's having a fun-filled evening. We're just waiting on Greg because he's the one actually doing all this. Because I am going to turn everything over to him. I am letting him do this. I'm letting him use my StreamYards and everything else. That's all we're waiting on. But I will start this with my intro and all that fun stuff. If he comes, he can actually do his. But we're only waiting on Greg to get here. But let's get this started like we normally do.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight
Were the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming,
and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air,
gave proof through the night that our flag was still there.
Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
And I have a question for everyone. I got a question for everyone that's watching this right now. How many of you actually knew that Deborah Birx actually testified in Congress? Anna, tell your brother congratulations. But Greg should be with us here very shortly because he is the one running this. I am just helping him out. That's all I'm doing because I told him I would have everything set up. But we are going to... Yeah, Bill, I thought the same thing when the guy told me that she actually testified. I was surprised. All I'm going to say is I do not know exactly everything he has. But Anna, we've actually met before, but that's a whole nother issue. But I'm letting him do this because I don't care. The truth needs to be out there. Because people are not doing what they're supposed to do. It's been a while since me and you've seen each other, Anna. But I need Greg. That's who I'm waiting on. He's the one running the show, not me. Hi, Miss Taylor. But do me a favor. Please share this out. Because I honestly think this is going to be quite interesting. this is going to be quite interesting because there are going to be things that are done that, yeah, YouTube might not like me and Greg tonight. So please share this out. They're on another page, but that's a whole different. But we are going to. The man is. I'm going to say this now. Greg is going to be late for his own damn funeral. That's my statement. Because he is not. But when this stuff gets out there, I am going to put links into the description of this if you want to. Because right now I am on my platform. I'm trying to figure out. Yeah, we're just waiting on Mr. Gregford. So we will get this started here in a few minutes. Garrett, I know I'm over on Greg's stream too because I'm the one helping him. Because I do know that we are streaming on Greg. Yeah, I'm on. I'm streaming this to mine and his right now, and 6 other channels. There's a shitload of channels right now that I'm trying to keep up with. And when Greg gets here, it'll be a little bit easier for me to keep up with him. Trey, you're not right, but that is probably very true. But you ain't wrong. You haven't realized what happened Friday? The angry conservative has actually showed his face. You might have been on his. You probably on his. You ain't wrong. I'm going to come down in that chat and just beat the hell out of you. Yep, I'm on both. You know what? I'm gonna do something. I don't think he really would mind because I do know something. Let's go back to YouTube. Because, all right. If he doesn't hurry up, I am going to kick him. I'm going to kick him in, put him in a new one. Because he has the link. So give me a minute. Let me see where the heck he's at. The 1808 is the assault weapons ban. $1808 is the assault weapons ban. That is another, yeah, it's getting confusing around here. Hello, Mr. Grigford.
What's up, man? And look, give me 10 seconds. I'm good. I just had to fix something. I was over here about to have a damn cow.
All right, I will put you back when you're ready. Let me know.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, yeah, Deborah, he had to fix his hair. But that's a whole nother issue. Greg's here, but he had to do something. So he'll be back. Greg's always, Anna, if you know Greg, you know he's always late. And I'm going to say this now. You probably did. And this is for specific people. A certain somebody actually came into my chat and had something to say to me. That's all I'm going to say. For the ones that know. So, Greg, you ready, sir?
Yeah. But before I get started, I got to play a theme song. Cause anyway, what's up, y'all? I can't even see what's going on. Let me see. Let me get over here for a second. All right, everybody, how y'all doing? I see you, Anna. Damn, I ain't seen her in a while. Hey, Anna. American Warrior, Z, everybody that's in the crib, I can't see nothing. I'm half blind. All I'm saying to you is, for those who did not know that Dr. Birx testified in Congress, like, how do we not know this? Hey, see, how do we not know this?
It must have not. All I'm going to say is they probably did not want us to know that she testified in front of Congress, so it wasn't all over the freaking news.
Woo! Oh, listen, I got to play a theme song. Y'all bear with me. All right, here we go. First song of the night. Let's do the jackpot, baby. Shake some. Woo! Y'all gotta feel the music, baby. Little jazz, a little funk for America. We still in the fight, y'all. That's right, the people are still rising up. Boy, we rising up. Let's get it. I'm a shoulder shake on my enemies. All right, I ain't gonna do all like that. I was about to mix it up and go DJ Kales on y'all. Woo! Let me go and start this recording. From now on, I'm recording everything. I slipped up and didn't record the last one, but we're gonna do this one.
Word up. Hey, I'm gonna have Greg. Since we're on StreamYard, you know I'm gonna have a backup for this damn shit.
Absolutely. But anyway, I ain't wasting no more time. AC, you got anything you want to say before I start this clip? I mean, this is not a clip. This is the whole thing. I'm gonna skip past all the openings and all of the crap that these people.
All I'm gonna say to the people on my stream, on Greg's stream, on Facebook, on Twitter, wherever you're at, share this MFer out, because this is gonna be valuable information. Because Greg, I went searching and I found it, and I seen some of it. I haven't seen all of it, but all I'm gonna say, you get the controls. I am going to go and sit down I'm gonna stay up here, but I'm gonna be hidden. You're gonna be running things. So everyone, if things don't come up while we're doing this, it's because I'm not up here, because he doesn't have complete access. But Greg, just let these people see what this is actually all about. Because I'm going to be down for 2 weeks. Greg's probably going to lose his damn channel. With the stuff that I've seen, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, they will not like us. So I do have some links that I will be putting in the chat. So
that's good.
And Greg, and I'm going to do something, if you don't mind. I'm going to put some family members as mods over on your stream.
Oh.
Because I do have access.
Go ahead. Do you think?
All right. Greg, it's all on you now, bud.
All right, here we go. I'm hosting the AC show. And it's an honor to be here. Broadcasting from the cockpit of truth. Y'all know what it is. Dr. Birx went before Congress. Come on, Boogie. Not now. Boogie, come on. Boogie. Come on, buddy. Not now. Get your baby. Anyway, the deal is she went before Congress. Nobody knows anything about it, and we're going to get into it. So, without further ado, America, just listen to what the woman has to say. I think you will be thoroughly, thoroughly shocked. You watch the Real Greg Keller Show.
Review. On the other monitor, you will see each person speaking during the hearing when they are speaking, including members who are appearing remotely.
Okay, so I'm going to stop it right there, and I'm going to skedoodle on past all of this nonsense. And we're going to get right down to the nitty gritty. I was going to actually clip this out, but that was a lot of work. The rendering would have took forever. Here we go. Woo!
Because of the failure to communicate, thousands of enslaved folks remained in slavery for 2.5 years because nobody communicated with them. I think that communication is, in fact, the key in so many things. And thank you so much for your ability and willingness to communicate. I'll yield to the ranking member for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Birx, when were you the coronavirus response coordinator?
I came on board the 2nd of March and left, I think, the 18th or 19th of January, 2021.
Yeah, so March of 2020 to January of 2021. Gotcha. Was there, we've had these conversations with some other witnesses, including Dr. Fauci over a year ago when he had come before about herd immunity. He's never really, I know Mr. Jordan's asked him, what is herd immunity? He wouldn't even define herd immunity. Was there ever an attempt to look at a herd immunity strategy when you were the coordinator?
Certainly there were individuals who discussed the fact that infection should be allowed to run through the population in those who are not vulnerable while protecting the vulnerable. But as many other Americans, I live in a multi-generational household. And so of the 35 million Americans that we just discussed, over 70 that are vulnerable still to severe disease, even some of which have been vaccinated and boosted, that when you have community spread, you cannot protect those 35 million Americans who live in multi-generational households. Only 1.5 million Americans live in long-term care facilities. And so whatever strategy we have has to speak to all of America.
Yeah, and we've even had hearings early off on the nursing home scandal where you saw some governors follow proper scientific guidance to protect seniors in nursing homes. And then you saw others, starting with Governor Cuomo at the time in New York, and unfortunately other governors followed, where they said you have to leave the hospital and go back to the nursing home and actually ban them from testing. Did you see that? And were you concerned about that when it was happening? Because we saw thousands of people die from that failed strategy.
As I was assembling the data, and I think, and hopefully,
Let me pause for the cause. They actually mentioned the nursing homes. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. They actually mentioned the nursing home scandal. I'm going to be quiet. Just keep watching. Lord God, keep watching.
in the written testimony, it's clear what made America vulnerable was the lack of data streams on just common diseases. We weren't testing for flu. So as the United States Congress has supported me to bring advanced medical care and diagnostic capacity to the far reaches at the end of the road in sub-Saharan Africa, I returned to a country that had less access than what I had created in sub-Saharan Africa, less access to routine medical care, less access to testing.
And obviously we worked to ramp up testing. When President Biden took office, would you say there was a robust testing plan and apparatus in place to hand over to President Biden?
I think there were two components of that. We were up to about 1.3 million PCR tests a day. We had
growing, right?
And growing. We had put aside $500 million nearly to increase 20 federal surge sites and left that for the incoming administration to execute those sites.
And let me ask you, were you in the administration when there were reports that President Biden was presented with a more robust testing plan and turned it down over a year ago? We've never had a hearing on that. We've tried to, but were you in the working with the administration when that plan was presented that was turned down by President Biden?
No, I knew, unfortunately, that my 40-year government career would come to a terminal event if I went into the Trump White House. And let me make it clear.
No, I'm talking about the Biden
Yes.
White House.
So I was gone by the time President Biden came to office.
All right, well, let me ask you this, because you said in your comments earlier, your submitted testimony, quote, "We learned from governors in Arizona, Texas, New Mexico, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida about data-driven mitigation to decrease community spread while opening retail and outdoor dining." We've seen many people from President Biden on down to some of my Democrat colleagues here in Congress criticize some of those very governors on the strategies they took early off that turned out to be very effective. Do you think that was a healthy thing to do, to be criticizing governors who were using that data to protect the vulnerable citizens while allowing kids to be back in school, for example, and other people to be able to go on with their lives without all of the devastating consequences we saw from shutdowns?
I think we were very fortunate to be able to work with a group of scientists at CHOP in Philadelphia, David Rubin and his team, who modeled for me, and first a model, what mitigations could be taken while maintaining as much of society open as possible.
So
And
do you think, and I know I'm running out of time, do you think it's healthy when the Biden administration was criticizing some of those governors that you yourself said did things well?
those
before they
governors
actually-
proactively looked at the model and agreed to institute them, and we were able to get data that show the impact of that model in decreasing, in real life, at population level health, in decreasing new infections.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Are you back?
Thank you. The chair now recognizes Mr. Maloney for 5 minutes.
Dr. Birx. Earlier this week, the Select Committee released a report on how the Trump White House embraced a dangerous and discredited herd immunity via mass infection strategy.
All right, well, you know, they had to say something about Donald Trump. So you already know this is going to be plastering Trump too. And granted, he made some serious mistakes, but just keep watching. You're watching the Real Greg Kelly Show. Welcome all the new mods. Thank everybody for being here. You really need to see this. I'm going to get out the way.
Pushed by Dr. Scott Atlas, President Trump's special advisor on the pandemic. We recently obtained, actually just yesterday, additional documents that shed further light on how Dr. Atlas's, I would call, radical views enabled President Trump to prioritize his political prospects, his own election, over America's health. Mr. Chairman, I ask for unanimous consent to place in the record this August 11 email Dr. Birx sent to the CDC Director, the FDA Commissioner, and Dr. Fauci.
Without objections.
And it is up on various places for people to see. So, Dr. Birx, in this email, you wrote that there was a, quote, dangerous meeting in the Oval Office, end quote, yesterday. Briefly, what was the meeting you were referring to, and why did you find it so, quote, dangerous?
So my access to the president was quite limited after the mid-April, I would say. And so I was called to a meeting that was going to be on vaccine and vaccine development. Dr. Atlas was there. I was there. We were in the middle of a summer surge. I was very concerned about what was happening. Of course, I was out in the field and collecting data, both in real time, but also on the ground. And I went to this meeting, and essentially Dr. Atlas put forward, I used that opportunity to inform the president about the depth and breadth of the viral spread across the South, the rising hospitalizations, and what would follow would be rising deaths, and what could be done, and what I was encouraging the Southern governors to do and what they were doing. And Dr. Atlas took that opportunity to make the points that it didn't matter what you did, each of these surges would be identical. It didn't matter if you tested. In fact, testing young people was equivalent, and asking them to isolate while they were infectious was an infringement of their rights and was equivalent to a lockdown. So these.
Did you hear what she just said? Can somebody say smoking Joe Frazier gun? Smoking Joe Frazier gun. I mean, she's admitting encroachment on the rights of American citizens. People, get ready. Get ready.
These kind of thoughts, particularly in any infectious disease, are dangerous. We never encourage individuals who are infected with a contagious virus, no matter how that virus is spread, to go out and spread that virus to others. That is a basic principle of public health. And so I used that opportunity to do my best to push back on his views. Obviously, he became very agitated, but I wanted to make sure that the doctors
Reclaiming
were
my
aware.
time, because I want to put on record what you actually wrote. And you wrote that Dr. Atlas displayed, quote, a very different take on the epidemic, end quote, your words. And then you listed 7 of his core beliefs. For instance, you wrote that Dr. Atlas felt, quote, no matter what we do, the outcome will be the same. In other words, in most places, the virus has already run its course. There's enough herd immunity to protect the rest of the population, end quote. In other words, Dr. Atlas was suggesting that the nation should stop taking any steps to mitigate the spread of the virus and let it run rampant throughout our communities. And you also wrote that Dr. Atlas believes that, quote, case identification is bad for the president's reelection.
So, what does the science say about herd immunity? I'm not a doctor. I can't say that. But just do some homework about herd immunity. You see how the spinning top just keeps spinning, trying to spin everything. I will say this. I'm not a doctor, okay? But herd immunity has been the viral standard forever. Forever.
In a health conversation, they're putting a reelection over solid health. Dr. Birx, was it your impression that decisions related to identifying coronavirus cases in the U.S. and otherwise testing were being made around political considerations?
I was never privy to those kind of political conversations because obviously I was not part
Well, you
of
just
the
quoted
political
that
group.
case
Yes.
identification is bad for the president's reelection.
That
So
is what I
that's an election
interpreted.
statement, huh?
Exactly. And that's what I wanted the other physicians to know, what was being said, because I knew that was going to make more work for us in working with governors and mayors and communities to ensure that we could keep people as safe as possible.
Well, did you agree with Dr. Atlas's a diagnosis that you should stop testing because an election's coming?
Of course not.
And in fact, you sent the email to Dr. Fauci, Dr. Redfield, and Dr. Han, and you wrote the conclusion was that quote, the conclusion was Dr. Atlas is brilliant and the president will be following his guidance now, end quote. So Dr. Birx, what impact did Dr. Atlas's dangerous views have on President Trump's pandemic response? My time is up.
We'll have a second round, so you may hold on to that question.
Okay.
The chair now recognizes Mr. Jordan for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Birx, why should Americans believe anything?
Why should Americans believe anything? Now, this is where it really gets interesting. America, this is where it gets interesting. Woo! Oh, Lord. I mean, buckle your seatbelt. Buckle your seatbelt. It's really about to go down. For real.
The government says about COVID. I mean, last summer, President Biden said this, quote, you're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations. If you're vaccinated, you're not going to be hospitalized. You're not going to be in the ICU. Dr. Birx, can vaccinated people get COVID?
Yes.
Have vaccinated people been hospitalized with COVID?
Yes.
And according to your testimony, it wasn't just President Biden who said things that were not accurate and were not true. Your testimony that you provided the committee, you said beginning in 2021, so beginning in the Biden administration, again, these are your words, agencies provided muddled and contradicting information or partial information that implied we knew something we didn't, which they later had to correct, which accelerated the loss of respect and trust in the federal government.
So, what exactly is she saying? Put it in the chat. What exactly is she saying? These are words from her book. You tell me, the American people, what did she just say in her book? What did Jim Jordan just quote her say? Think about it. What did she just say?
Come back to maybe my original question. Why should we believe anything the government tells us about COVID?
Well, that's why, to be honest, that's why I wrote the book. And that's why I believe that this is a moment in time where we can increase accountability and transparency and provide that data and information in real time to the American people so they are empowered with the knowledge that they need to protect themselves and their families. We knew early on in January of 2021 and late December of 2020 that reinfection was occurring after natural infection. Once you see that, and I want to make it clear to you all and to anyone that is listening, this is not measles, mumps, and rubella. Those vaccines produce long-term immunity and can create herd immunity.
So I just want to interrupt for a second, Dr. Birx. You said something important. You said in early 2021, January 2021, you knew that people who had been vaccinated could be reinfected.
I knew that people who were naturally infected were getting reinfected. And that was quite evident from South Africa, and I've included it in my slides. But I think the reason I knew that is South Africa did a remarkably good job in measuring baseline antibody with their first surge. And so they knew 50, 60, 70% of some of their population had been infected.
Well, here's what I'm concerned.
And then were reinfected.
Well, here's what I'm concerned about with. Let me ask the question this way. When the government told the American people that people who had been vaccinated couldn't get it, were they guessing or were they lying?
I don't know. All I know is there was evidence from the global pandemic that natural reinfection was occurring. And since the vaccine was based on natural immunity, you cannot make the conclusion that the vaccine will do better than natural infection, although it can often do slightly better.
But I think that's, I mean, you're an expert. You were on the task force. You were part of this effort when you were in the previous administration. And you're saying in this administration,
Somebody said pause. So I did. It's paused. Where in the world is AC at when you need him? Like, AC, tell me something, brother. Say something to me. Where are you? I paused it. I believe that's Garrett. Garrett, what do you want me to do, brother? We're supposed to be tag teaming this thing.
I'm letting you have control there, my friend.
I got control, but where you at, man? I mean, did you hear what she just said?
I heard what she said. And this is why someone said pause it. Garrett said he just asked her if they lied or did they, and they didn't. She said, I don't know. Think about that. Think about what. Back it up a few minutes. He's actually right about this. And Garrett, thank you. Thank you for saying this because
wow.
Garrett is a very smart man, so I was like, I understand why he would say deposit.
Wow. All right, I backed it up a little bit, everybody. AC, just give me one sentence, brother. Whoa. Like,
they're all corrupt. Everyone my opinion, this is my opinion as an American citizen. Everybody, every politician, even Donald Trump, I'm saying that for a reason, is very corrupt. They're all corrupt. Because I got a video of Donald Trump's speech for the day after January 6th. I got it, the outtakes of that. Donald Trump is as corrupt as Miss Birx, Jerry Nadler, they're all corrupt. That's
I don't know if they're the same level of corruption, but man, what they did, I can't even say none of that. I'm sorry. Let's just keep going. I backed it up. Let's listen to this again. Wow. That's all I can say is wow.
Okay.
The chair now recognizes Mr. Jordan for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Birx, why should Americans believe anything the government says about COVID? I mean, last summer, President Biden said this, quote, "You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations. If you're vaccinated, you're not going to be hospitalized. You're not going to be in the ICU." Dr. Birx, can vaccinated people get COVID?
Yes,
Have vaccinated people been hospitalized with COVID?
yes.
And according to your testimony, it wasn't just President Biden who said things that were not accurate and were not true. Your testimony that you provided the committee, you said beginning in 2021, so beginning in the Biden administration, again, these are your words, agencies provided muddled and contradicting information or partial information that implied we knew something we didn't, which they later had to correct, which accelerated the loss of respect and trust in the federal government. So I'll come back to maybe my original question. Why should we believe anything the government tells us about COVID?
Well, that's why, to be honest, that's why I wrote the book. And that's why I believe that this is a moment in time where we can increase accountability and transparency and provide that data and information in real time to the American people so they are empowered with the knowledge that they need to protect themselves and their families. We knew early on in January of 2021 and late December of 2020 that reinfection was occurring after natural infection. Once you see that, and I want to make it clear to you all and to anyone that is listening, this is not measles, mumps, and rubella. Those vaccines produce long-term immunity and can create herd immunity.
So I just want to interrupt for a second, Dr. Birx. You said something important. You said in early 2021, January 2021, you knew that people who had been vaccinated could be reinfected.
I knew that people who were naturally infected were getting reinfected. And that was quite evident from South Africa, and I've included it in my slides. But I think the reason I knew that is South Africa did a remarkably good job in measuring baseline antibody with their first surge. And so they knew 50, 60, 70% of some of their population had been infected.
Well, here's what I'm
and
concerned.
then were reinfected.
Well, here's what I'm concerned about with. Let me ask the question this way. When the government told the American people that people who had been vaccinated couldn't get it, were they guessing or were they lying?
I don't know. All I know is there was evidence from the global pandemic.
Greg, stop it for a minute.
The infection was occurring. And since the vaccine.
Now did you hear it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I heard it.
That's what I love having Garrett down there. He listens to all this stuff. Garrett, thank you for pointing it out. Thank you for doing that.
I heard it. So again, we're not going to get into a full-fledged discussion about this. We can, after the stream, we can go backstage. You know, anybody want to come up? I can't run the show, but I'm just saying I want somebody to talk to me about what we just heard. Somebody need to help me.
Hey, what I'm going to do, I will share my link out. I do have a Rumble account. What we're going to do after this stream, guess where we're taking it? When we get done with this one, guess where we're taking that discussion? We can continue this discussion and not even stop.
Are we going to the dark web?
We're not going to the dark web, but we are going to an a safer platform that will actually let us speak. So everyone will in the description. I will be. I'm around here. I am listening, but think about what she just said. Think about what she just said. That she doesn't know if the government lied or if they were guessing. And she's a doctor.
Really?
I'm not a doctor, and I don't play one on TV, and I didn't stay at a Motel 6.
I'm a doctor. Maybe she's a pet doctor. You know, there are different kinds of doctors. Hey, I take care of your pet dinosaur. I'm blown away. But anyway, let me shout out Brooke, Joker, Mustang, Honey Barbecue Wings, Taylor. Is Taylor Ramad yet?
Yeah. Everybody, Brooke, Taylor, Sugar Baby, Deborah, they're all modded up. I got every one of them. So is Nick.
All right. I appreciate it. What's up, Braxton? What's going on, brother? Deborah, good to see you, honey. Anuniki. Everybody that I might have missed because I got my eyes.
We're in the
It's in the cup.
We're in the middle of things.
Yeah.
Yes, we are in the middle of things.
All right, I'm gonna shut myself off. Here we go. Oh my God. Whoo, but how about Jim Jordan? Shout out to Jim Jordan.
Hey, he would have been one of my senators. His district wouldn't have been very far if I was still in Ohio right now. Just saying. So, Mr. Jordan, thank you for pressing this issue, because if it wasn't for you, a lot of us probably wouldn't. And I did find out she testified. This testimony was this year, back in June. May or June of this year.
Hey, look at Garrett's question. So, Dr. Birx, did you say that you knew the government was guessing or lying? In response, Dr. Birx, can I get a response? I don't know. How many times have we heard that? Let's get back to this. Oh my God, this is beautiful. This is beautiful.
Was based on natural immunity. You cannot make the conclusion that the vaccine will do better than natural infection, although it can often do slightly better.
But I think you're an expert. You were on the task force. You were part of this effort when you were in the previous administration. And you're saying in this administration that you can't rule out the fact that our government was lying to us when they told us the vaccinated could not get the virus.
I don't know about their discussions that they had in the task force. So I can't tell you that. I can tell you as a family member who had individuals that were susceptible, of course we got everybody vaccinated, but we still use layered protection during surges because I knew potentially the vaccine immunity would wane like natural immunity waned. And there was evidence that every 4 months reinfection was occurring in South Africa.
Wow. When the government told us that the vaccinated couldn't transmit it, was
Okay, Garrett asked me to pause it again. I paused it. It's paused. Garrett, talk to me, brother. Woo! AC, you picking this up? Garrett asked for another pause.
I picked it up.
All right.
And Mr. Garrett, I am going to ask this. You don't have to cam up like me and Greg. Would you like to come up here?
Please. Please. I'm begging you. I want to hear what you have to say.
Because Garrett is a smart individual. I'm going to say that right now. Because I will send that link. I will give him the link.
She denied again and said she wasn't a part of the task force. Yeah, she said that she wasn't in their meetings. She wasn't privy to what was going on in task force meetings, as though she was not a part of that task force. Another blatant lie. Another blatant lie. I'm with you on that.
But that's the thing about it.
What's wrong with your eyes?
But Garrett, if you would like to come up, let me know. I do have the link ready for you if you would. But if anyone else comes up, I am blocking your damn ass. He says keep it going. Go ahead.
Okay. Got people all in my ear. All right, here we go.
Is that a lie or was that a guess? Or is it the same answer?
I think it was hope that the vaccine would work in that way. And that's why I think scientists and public health leaders always have to be at the table, being very clear what we know and what we don't know.
This is important for the country to know. So when I asked the question, when the government told us that the vaccinated couldn't get it, and I asked you if it was a guess or a lie, you said you don't know. You said you think it was hope. So what we do know is it wasn't the truth. So they were either guessing, lying, or hoping, and communicating that information to the citizens of this country.
I think they were hoping, but you should know in those original phase 3 trials that were done in this country.
I think they were hoping. Hoping. Are you shitting me? Hoping.
There's a lot of things that still need to be answered right now. There are a lot of things that still need to be answered.
But she said hoping.
I know she did, Greg.
They were hoping?
I love Garrett. I love Gary so much.
Unreal. Okay, unreal. Hoping. So the scientists were hoping? Trust the hoping science?
Oh. And people, this woman, I will bring the comment up. I need to find it. It was Taylor's comment.
Hoping. They were hoping.
But this is what Taylor said. And Taylor's a smart woman. I love Taylor. Believe me. If she was... Look what... I'm like, you can't... And like Garrett said, you can't make this stuff up. Bill, yeah. Nick, you're right.
Hoping?
Me and Greg have no word for this. We have no word for what the heck's going on in this.
Hoping. Oh, wow.
I wonder if, hey, Greg, I wonder if they were hoping because they were coping that they didn't know anything. But that will be for Rumble. That will go over to Rumble. But yeah.
Hoping? I'm gonna keep on. But hoping?
Holy.
It's like Dick Vermeer playoffs? You don't talk about the playoffs? 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 Like hoping? Hoping? Really? In the midst of a pandemic, we hoping? Okay, here we go.
That we only measured for symptomatic disease. So we weren't proactively testing everybody in those trials to see if they got infected with mild or asymptomatic disease. And so people had to present within the clinical trial. We never had the data that it was going to protect against asymptomatic infection.
I'm just struck with the irony. We got government agencies guessing, hoping, or lying with the information they're presenting to the American people. And this is the same administration that wants to set up the disinformation governance board and wants to talk about misinformation. And they're the biggest purveyors of misinformation, false information, hopeful information, but not accurate and true information.
I had to stop it right there. Because that's everything in a nutshell. That's a mic drop. And he just kept going. He kept holding on to the microphone. It's over with. America, if you're watching this, it's over with. But the sad part is we all know nobody's going to be held accountable for this. Nobody. I'm going to say it one more time. Nobody is going to be held accountable for this. Wow. Okay, America. You're watching the Real Craig Kelly Show. I'm actually a guest of the Angry Conservative with my brothers and my sisters over here with me.
Well, I'm honored to have you.
I'm honored to be here. Why did not the world have the opportunity to see this? I think we all know the answer, but tell me why America does not know that this took place. This got no news coverage. No news coverage. I'm gonna shut up. I have to be careful with what I say. Boogie, don't you start talking. And brother, I trust you. Okay? That's what it is. All right. Let's get into this next round. Wow. Okay, here we go. Holy smoke.
Which is, again, the frustration I think so many of the folks I get the privilege of representing have shared with me. When the government downplayed natural immunity, was that a guess or a lie?
We're only beginning to okay, these are complicated answers, so I'm going to try to be very brief. Once you are infected, you're putting immune pressure on that virus. And so we know viruses always mutate, and they mutate to escape something, like immune pressure, virologic pressure. And that's why you always have to be looking for evidence of reinfection so you can understand what epitopes on the virus are under extensive immune pressure. So you can map that and design next generation vaccines and next generation therapeutics. You'd like to find epitopes that are constant, that the virus can't mutate from, or it loses its ability to actually infect and replicate.
Thank you, Dr. Birx. Mr. Chairman, I just think this is amazing. Our government, guessing, hoping, or lying, one of those. But what we do know is they weren't telling us the truth, weren't telling the American people the truth. And it started right with the President of the United States just 11 months ago when he told us something that was absolutely false. With that, I will yield back and look forward to a second round.
Thank you for yielding back. That's amazing. The President of the United States just started lying 11 months ago. With that, the chair yields 5 minutes to Mr. Foster.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Dr. Birx, for your
Hey,
service.
Greg, pause it for a minute.
Sure.
Pause it for a minute. Did you hear what the chairman actually said? You're muted. You're muted, bud.
Oh, yeah. I thought I was gonna make it through this one without one. God. Oh, I just knew I had this one whooped. I got all these stickers right here. Unmute. And I was damn if I still. But yeah, so the president just started lying 11 months ago. Oh wow, that's amazing. No, he been lying a long time, brother. Okay.
I know that, but I was like, when he said that, I know where he was going with that, but what most people don't realize, I am going to bring something up. In 2020, when a certain president did his State of the Union speech, there wasn't much that he said about it, but guess what he said? He actually talked about this coming.
Oh, yeah?
45, actually, if you look at...
Yeah, he did. You're right.
So, he was up front with the American people. A lot of people didn't catch it at the time, but...
Hey, look,
yeah.
Sydney, I'm sorry, honey. I know. I know. I lost my uncle to COVID, so I get it. You know, so hey, listen, man, keep Sydney in your prayers. Man, put her comment up. Put Sydney's comment up, please, sir.
Which one am I?
You know, listen, I understand. I feel your pain. So, good night, sis. We love you. We hope to see you soon, though.
Cindy, I'm sorry because I just want this information out there. I want this out there because people need to know this. It doesn't need to be hidden in the archives of whichever one he's using. I don't know where he's getting it from, but people need to know.
They do. But we're sorry, man. We're sorry that you lost your son.
Yes.
All of us. Shush.
All right, Greg,
All
I'm
right.
gonna
Okay.
let you continue.
I don't have nothing. I don't know what to say. I'm just
I don't.
here we go. I don't know what to say. Here we go.
You're talented trying to talk sense to politicians who think that they know the answer when the truth is complicated. Trying to explain immune escape to someone who comes into the discussion imagining that they understand it and in fact are just looking for a viral soundbite must be frustrating, and thank you for putting up with that. As fellow scientists, I know we're both very data oriented, and we rely on accurate and complete data to make informed decisions on our work. So as a scientist myself, I really appreciate how important it was to have at least one person in the room with a scientific approach, particularly in the early days of the pandemic. Now, you recently wrote that when you joined the White House in March 2020, the country was, quote, dangerously behind the 8 ball when it came to data collection. You recounted that data collection issues impeded the task force ability to, quote, understand the scope, scale, and spread of COVID-19 in or near real time, and that the United States had only, quote, a static partial 30,000-foot awareness of the virus. So in what ways were the efforts to collect and analyze data from the emerging coronavirus threat dangerously behind?
A whole series of reasons. One, this belief that you could track viral infectious diseases, particularly respiratory disease, by following syndromes. That was our pandemic preparedness. We believed that we could track viruses through the eyes of people who were infected that had symptoms. That is always dangerous because we've always known they're asymptomatic viruses and asymptomatic spread, and not everybody has magically the same symptoms. And so when you base your entire surveillance on syndromic, which we had through your work and your funding changed sub-Saharan Africa, which did the same thing for fever in the 2000s, but because of your investment, we were diagnosing, no matter where you lived, HIV, TB, and malaria. If we had been diagnosing RSV, flu, parainfluenza, we would have had the lab capacity at every single clinic and every single hospital, no matter if they were community hospitals or large throughput hospitals. We would have been able to diagnose flu, and we would have seen that there was a circulating virus that did not match any of those laboratory diagnoses, and we would have seen it coming. Because the CDC believed that.
All right, so Garrett said, did you hear her admit to NIH funding? Oops. Yes, she did. Oops. I did it again. Oops. Oops. Wow. I'm going to keep going.
That they could track syndromes. That is why they made tests only for the public health laboratories, because we only test about 0.001% of the flu cases to just confirm the strain and its relationship to the vaccine. And that's done in public health laboratories. And so I think from the very beginning, CDC believed this could be tracked through symptoms only and didn't prepare for asymptomatic community spread or develop the data and the infrastructure to track that.
Yeah, thank you. I'm struck that, let's see, I guess in the United States, we're sequencing only 0.36% of the confirmed coronavirus cases. In Denmark was sequencing more than half of them. And so I'm just really distressed at how far behind our country has been in just the collection and genomic sequencing alone. And I hope that's on everyone's lists of lessons learned. Are those likely to be general purpose capabilities that will be useful if the next pandemic is a bacteria or a fungus or so on? Are there really universal things, or are we going to need a set of specialized ones for every potential pandemic?
No, and this really gets to the work of the committee. So tomorrow, if CMS required that in community-acquired infectious disease were definitively diagnosed, we would know precisely who was infected where with what. And we could combat it with advanced tools. We would have better antivirals. We would have much better local sequencing. All of these things cascade when you require. It would be like me in Africa saying to a patient, I think you have HIV, and treating them for HIV, which we've done for flu for the last 4 decades. That is unacceptable in the 21st century. We need to make sure that it's unacceptable, and we need to move funding from investments that we are making into these investments that are absolutely required. Sequencing is critical. It allows you to see transmission trends. And that's why I can tell you today, and could have told you, and that's why I went out with the warning for the southern states. B4 and B5 was evident in South Africa. Multiple times now, we've seen that strains move from South Africa, where they're doing sequencing, to Europe, where they're doing sequencing, and arriving in the United States. It's predictable, it's understood, and we're not utilizing that information to act in real time to combat hospitalizations and death through testing, proactive testing of people over 70, and providing proactively Paxlovid.
Thank you. Yield back.
Thank you. The chair now recognizes Dr. Miller Meeks for 5 minutes.
First, I'd like to thank you, Dr. Birx, for your service and for coming before the committee to testify today. Like you, as a physician, as a former director of the State Department of Public Health, I'm very concerned about the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, the lockdowns, school closures that have had on adults and children. But like other members here, I'm also concerned about the loss of trust in our institutions that are so valuable. And I think that instead of having a committee hearing that is geared to try to lay blame at the feet of one administration, we have ongoing mistakes in our response to COVID-19, and all of those have to be examined. Given my time in the military, having an after-action report so that we know what we did well, what we did not do well, how we could have better geared testing, so that we learn from this, because there will be another pandemic, and we don't know if it'll be 15 years between COVID-19 and H1N1, or if it will be more rapid than that, and if it will be overseas or if it will come here to our shores.
How do these people keep knowing that another pandemic is coming? How do they know this shit? Like, where are they getting this information? I want to know. I want to know when the next pandemic coming.
I think we all want to know. We would all love to know that there, Mr. Greg Kelly. I'm like, what the? But Bill makes a good point. Bill makes a hell of a point with that. But I do want to say one thing. Hello, Zach. I'm happy you're over here, my brother, because we.
Crystal ball. That you're right. Crystal ball. That'll do it, Anuniki. Crystal ball. The pandemic crystal ball. Yes. Yeah. Everybody, let's go to your local Walmart and buy a pandemic crystal ball. So we'll be.
Greg, why do we have to get a crystal ball for all of these viruses? Why can't we just get one for something to tell us what's going to happen in our lives?
That would be more fitting.
Yeah.
That would be more fitting. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Let's continue because this is long. But matter of fact, we probably won't even finish all of this. But it's just, this is unbelievable.
Greg.
Early in the pandemic, there was a lot of.
Yes.
If you want to, you are a mod on my channel, and the girls could take it over to yours. Why don't you share the link out with everyone? That way, what we don't cover tonight, if something happens, they can watch the rest of it.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
I know that.
Unbelievable. Unreal, people.
And please share this out. Please share this out. Because people need to know this. People need to know what's been said.
Yeah. All right, here we go. God, mighty.
Focus on limiting people's interaction with others, which was appropriate. However, by the summer of 2020, I would argue that the risks of keeping schools closed and how to reopen them as safely as possible was in fact known. And in Europe and Scandinavian countries, this was already being done. However, many Democrat-led states and blue states kept their schools closed, and the Biden administration listened to the American Federation of Teachers, causing, to me, irreparable harm to our students' mental, physical, and emotional health.
Is anybody listening to this? Holy wow. Oh. Whew. Okay. Wow.
And we have seen this in reports in suicides as young as 9 years of age. In fact, in February 2021, the New York Times found that 86% of pediatric disease experts recommended in-person schooling regardless of vaccination status. And in our state of Iowa, we opened schools to in-person learning in August of 2020 without significant repercussions or spread. Can you speak to the unintended consequences, mental health consequences of lockdowns and school closures, especially in our younger students?
Let me make two comments quickly. We knew in July of 2020 the already impact of just having the schools closed March, April, May. When the head of SAMHSA came to the task force and presented the data about a rapid increase in suicidal ideation. I sent that to the CDC after she told me that the CDC was not utilizing that guidance and would not include it into the school guidance. So I wrote to Dr. Redfield and said, I really think your team should look at this and at least include it in the introduction so that school boards and family members can make informed decisions about the whole child. Secondly, we had universities, and I just want to thank presidents of universities who planned through the summer and use that time to create an effective plan to reopen. They understood that they were institutions of higher education, that their students could learn how to protect one another. And those universities that opened, that trust their students, that worked on a comprehensive plan, opened successfully, and all of them stayed open successfully except for the North Carolina system. They did that through active testing and making interventions and tools available. But most critically, and I think you do this in your opening, they made the knowledge available to students in real time about what was happening on their college campus so they could change their behaviors as necessary. And that is still not being done today at a local level to really make sure that every American knows what's happening in their community and how to mitigate against the virus.
Correct. And I would say more information is always better rather than trying to censor information that we don't particularly like. And as a physician, I was very forthright in my concern that there would be unintended excess deaths from our lockdowns and our closures and missing routine screenings. Dr. Birx, how much money does the U.S. donate to the WHO annually?
Oh, I don't know. There's the direct assessments, and then there's the additional funding that we provide through a whole series of agencies.
It's 500 million. And when did you first suspect human-to-human transmission of COVID-19?
In January, when I saw the social reports coming out of China.
And when did WHO confirm human-to-human transmission?
Not until the middle to late January.
So they wasted some time. Did they parrot the Chinese propaganda, continuing that there was no human-to-human transmission?
You know, what was unfortunate to me is we all experienced the SARS.
Okay, well, she got from behind that question. She got from behind that one. She didn't want that one. She didn't want that CD. She didn't want that Wuhan, China propaganda question. She didn't want to touch that one. Unbelievable.
Outbreak, and there was a level of transparency and integration of WHO personnel into China. And so we have to investigate why that didn't work.
Would you say that the WHO got this wrong?
I think very early on, when people should have been preparing, and certainly I was preparing Africa for a very significant pandemic.
And did you advise President Trump to withdraw from the WHO?
No.
Thank you. I yield back my time.
Thank you. The chair now recognizes Mr. Raskin for 5 minutes.
Hey, Greg, wait a moment. Wait a moment.
Pleasure to see.
Did that Congress lady, hey Sharon, did that Congress lady ask her if she said anything to President Trump?
On the other monitor, you will see each
snap.
person
What
speak.
happened? I messed that all up. Let me get on back to where, here we go. Say that again.
I think that woman right there asked her if something about talking to Trump. I could be wrong. Because if she did, she said she wasn't proud of the task force. Why would she be talking to President Trump about anything?
Brother, I'm stunned. I'm stunned.
Right before the chairman, before it went back to the chairman, there was that last question, I think, was it. If you want to replay that.
Okay, let's see what she said.
Without significant repercussions or spread. Can you speak to the unintended consequences, mental health consequences of lockdowns and school closures, especially in our younger students?
Let me make two comments quickly. We knew in July of 2020 the already impact of just having the schools closed March, April, May. When the head of SAMHSA came to the task force and presented the data about a rapid increase in suicidal ideation. I sent that to the CDC after she told me that the CDC was not utilizing that guidance and would not include it into the school guidance. So I wrote to Dr. Redfield and said, I really think your team should look at this and at least include it in the introduction so that school boards and family members can make informed decisions about the whole child. Secondly, we had universities, and I just want to thank presidents of universities who planned through the summer and use that time to create an effective plan to reopen. They understood that they were institutions of higher education, that their students could learn how to protect one another. And those universities that opened, that trust their students, that worked on a comprehensive plan, opened successfully, and all of them stayed open successfully except for the North Carolina system. They did that through active testing and making interventions and tools available. But most critically, and I think you do this in your opening, they made the knowledge available to students in real time about what was happening on their college campus so they could change their behaviors as necessary. And that is still not being done today at a local level to really make sure that every American knows what's happening in their community and how to mitigate against the virus.
Correct. And I would say more information is always better rather than trying to censor information that we don't particularly like. And as a physician, I was very forthright in my concern that there would be unintended excess deaths from our lockdowns and our closures and missing routine screenings. Dr. Birx, how much money does the U.S. donate to the WHO annually?
Oh, I don't know. There's the direct assessments, and then there's the additional funding that we provide through a whole series of agencies.
It's $500 million. And when did you first suspect human-to-human transmission of COVID-19?
In January, when I saw the social reports coming out of China.
And when did the WHO confirm human-to-human transmission?
Not until the middle to late January.
So they wasted some time. Did they parrot the Chinese propaganda, continuing that there was no human-to-human transmission?
You know, what was unfortunate to me is we all experienced the SARS outbreak, and there was a level of transparency and integration of WHO personnel into China. And so we have to investigate why that didn't work.
So would you say that the WHO got this wrong?
I think very early on, when people should have been preparing, and certainly I was preparing Africa for a very significant pandemic.
And did you advise President Trump to withdraw from the WHO?
No.
Thank you. I yield back my time.
Thank you. The chair now recognizes Mr. Raskin for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for calling this important hearing. Dr. Birx, pleasure to see you. I want to thank you first for your service in the White House, operating in the face of a lot of propaganda and a lot of obfuscation from people who wanted to tell the public, essentially, don't trust the scientists, don't trust the government, just trust Donald Trump and whatever comes out of his mouth.
Here we go. Hey, this guy is a New World Order puppet if there's ever been one. This Raskin dude, total buffoon. Total buffoon, this guy right here. Total. And you're going to see what I mean here in a minute. But was that not unbelievable to hear about the school, about the children, about the damage of keeping kids out of school? All that was being denied openly. The kids shouldn't go back to school. I'm.
But Greg, it's come out that the White House actually helped them write the damn letter. So why are you surprised that teachers didn't want to go back to school? They wanted to get paid, but they didn't want to go back into that school to teach. Why is that? Freaking people, the unelected bureaucrats, have more control of this government than we do. That's pretty pathetic.
Buckle your seatbelt, America. You're watching the Real Greg Kelly Show. Buckle your seatbelts. Let's get on back on this roller coaster.
The subcommittee has obtained an August 21, 2020 email that you sent to senior doctors on the White House coronavirus task force about Dr. Scott Atlas, who was a Fox News commentator with no background in the field of infectious disease, who was hired somewhat covertly as President Trump's pandemic advisor in July of 2020. In this email, excerpted here, you wrote to Dr. Fauci, the CDC director and the FDA commissioner, to warn of the, quote, dangers of Dr. Atlas's views on the pandemic. You said, quote, I don't see the president, so I don't have a counterbalance opportunity to this Atlas dogma. What was the Atlas dogma you were referring to, and why did you think it was so dangerous for America?
Remember, at that time, we didn't have a vaccine. We were still ramping testing. So at that time, we didn't really have tools to save American lives except for remdesivir and some breakthroughs in proning. And so Dr. Atlas's view.
America, did she just say remdesivir?
Yes, she did.
You mean it worked? Oh my God. She just admitted it. That's what we had to treat COVID. I'm done. I'm done. Okay, I'm gonna turn this back. I'm done. I'm finished. Finito. I'm done. Holy, you know what? Here we go.
Who was anybody who was not going to have severe disease should be allowed to become infected. I do believe that he thought that there was long-term protection from reinfection, but we didn't know that. And so he really was trying to, and it was a team, it wasn't just Dr. Atlas, there was a team of physicians and PhDs who strongly believed that the virus was innocent to the majority of the American people, and somehow you could magically separate the 50 or 60 million vulnerable Americans from that infection at a high level.
Which you've emphasized is really impossible
I
because of the way
believe
we
it's
live.
impossible
Yeah.
without mitigation.
Yeah.
You could mitigate and it is possible, yeah.
And that's following public health advice and strategies and so on. And the idea that the only vulnerable people are the ones living in nursing homes is ridiculous, isn't it?
Correct.
I mean, how many people live in those homes? Like 2 million?
1.5 million.
So the idea that those are the only vulnerable people in the country is just absurd. So you led the federal coronavirus response throughout your time in the White House. You saw the effects of the policies and strategies that Dr. Atlas aggressively promoted even during the surge in late 2020 when death counts were reaching record highs, hospitals were full and overflowing, and vaccines weren't yet widely available. Do you have any doubt that Dr. Atlas's tenure in the White House undermined America's coronavirus response and jeopardized public health?
Absolutely. It did two things. One, it created the sense that if Debbie, Bob, Tony, and Steve are saying this, and Scott Atlas and these PhDs are saying that, then no one's right. And no one really knows. So it created a sense that anything could be right and nothing was absolutely right. And I think at that time we had enough data and we were working with governors. And what it did is it just made me shift my strategy to clearly from this was going to be not that I gave up on pushing back on Scott Atlas, and you can see I did continuously, but I went directly to the governors and the IGA staff, the Intergovernmental Affairs, and the communications team allowed me to directly communicate to local media and to get out and meet with governors and mayors and counterbalance this approach.
Would you agree with me, Doctor, that a critical ingredient to a successful public health strategy is social cohesion? And if that's the case, did the bringing in of Dr. Atlas to the White House undermine and work to destroy the social cohesion that's necessary for a successful public health strategy?
Well, it certainly destroyed any cohesion in the response in the White House itself. And I think that then became the ability to unravel the response state by state. I think we did as good a job as possible at preventing that at the state level. I couldn't with Florida because he got there before I knew he was going.
But if cohesion was destroyed in the White House, could there be any cohesion in the country?
It makes it much more difficult. But I want to be clear, governors did an extraordinary job. Both Republican governors and Democrat governors I worked with were focused on the health and welfare of their constituencies.
Thank you for your service and testimony. I yield back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, gentlemen, for yielding back. The chair now concludes the first round with recognition of Mr. Christian Malthe for 5 minutes.
Hello, thank you so much, Chair Clyburn, and thank you to Dr. Birx. On April 23rd, 2020, during a briefing, then President Trump said, "I see the disinfectant knocks out the virus in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning?" Do you remember that moment when he said that, Dr.
Oh my God. Oh my God. See, this is what I'm talking about. I mean, anybody with half a rational brain knew that dude was clowning them people. And they bring this up, which I expect that. But it's just unbelievable that they try to use, satire as reality. They try to twist that into reality. It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. Has anybody else discussed it besides me? I'm going to eat this, but this is like a bad, overcooked, just supercharged steak.
Greg, what do you expect?
I expect exactly.
When the government gets their hands on something, what usually happens? President Trump put it perfectly. Usually he said whatever goes rogue turns to what?
Yeah, doo-doo.
Yeah. So anything the government touches, what usually happens? The government's been in education for decades. What's happened to it? The government's been in transportation. What's happened to it? Why would this be any different?
I wouldn't expect it to be any different. I'm mumbling, but I'm lost. That's all.
You,
Lost.
me, and 20 other people watching us right now are lost.
I mean, this is unbelievable. And so this is what I found out. Why I got Sugar Baby over here doing research. The reason why we didn't see this happened on the 23rd of June, and Roe versus Wade was the day after.
What the? So I'm not going to say this. No, I'm not going to wait because this is the last 5 minutes. What we will do tomorrow night around, I will say, Greg, what time would be good for you? Let's do that first.
I'm good. I'm good.
Around 9 o'clock Eastern time.
Okay.
What we're going to do, we'll show the other part of this. This is what, about halfway?
Yeah.
We'll show the other half, but we are going to go over to Rumble and discuss this first half. We're going to listen to whatever representative this is. I don't know. I really don't give a crap because this is things. I have a few things I want to say, but I'm not saying them on YouTube because I do want to keep my channel. So, Greg, let's listen to this one, and then we'll head over to Rumble and Odyssey.
I bet. Let's go.
Birx.
Vividly.
And I think to ABC, you said regarding President Trump's statements about injecting disinfectant, you said, quote, "I just wanted it to be the Twilight Zone and all go away." I mean, I could just see everything unraveling in that moment. What do you mean by that?
We had, I thought, developed pretty strong consensus throughout the White House that resulted in use of data and science to drive our response, resulting in the 15 days to slow the spread, the 30 days to slow the spread, and the carefully selected reopening criteria. And I could see in that moment, and again, he was speaking to the DHS scientist, and just to make clear how far this went off the rails, we had DHS scientists study disinfected versus sunlight so that children could get out to playgrounds. That was the sole reason that study was done, because most playgrounds were closed across the country. I wanted them open so children could be outside. I thought that was critically important. We knew that every parent knew what Lysol and Clorox was, and so we thought if we compared sunlight and its ability to inactivate the virus to disinfectant, mayors and parents would be confident about their children going out.
Let me jump in for a second, because actually in that same press conference on April 23rd, he said, so supposing we hit the body with a tremendous, whether it's ultraviolet or just a very powerful light, I think you said that hasn't been checked because of the testing, referring to Dr. Bryan at DHS. And then I said, meaning Trump, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do either through the skin or some other way, and I think you said you're going to test that too. Dr. Birx, what other similar crazy suggestions did President Trump make in private with regard to treating COVID?
I just want to be clear, because I'm not sure it was crystal clear in that dialogue. The dialogue that you're presenting is the dialogue that was occurring between President Trump and the DHS scientist. That dialogue went on for quite some time. It was the scientist was encouraging him and saying, we haven't looked at that, we'll look at that. And then finally he turned to me and I said, not a treatment. I think this illustrates clearly that people were communicating with the president dangerous ideas, whether it was hydroxychloroquine, whether it was hydroxychloroquine combined with azithromycin, which we know has an impact on the heart. These were coming into the White House on a daily basis from different individuals, and I wasn't there for the majority of those discussions.
Let me reclaim my time. Dr. Birx, I appreciate that, but let me just ask you this. Did anyone besides you question these particular treatments within internal discussions?
Well, I wasn't present when that Oval Office meeting occurred between Dr. Bryant and the president prior to that press conference. There was no physicians in that room at the time, and I don't know who was. I know that the physicians on the task force continuously pushed back on misinformation about treatments in the task force.
So I understand. You've said that you estimated that more than 130,000 American lives could have been saved after the first wave of the pandemic if President Trump had implemented proven mitigation measures. Isn't that right?
Through that first year of the pandemic. Correct.
And Dr. Birx, is it accurate to say that President Trump's approach, his poor approach, is responsible for the deaths of over 100,000 Americans?
I want to make it clear that I think our starting strategy should always be no American dies from COVID and no American has severe hospitalizations from COVID. And when you start with that zero, as we did with HIV, 0 new infections, 0 deaths, you drive programming to uncover structural barriers and you make the changes that are needed on the ground to implement tools effectively. I think that we weren't doing that effectively in that first year, mostly related to communication. And I fear today that we're still not effectively using our tools across all of America, particularly in rural America.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes our first round of questions. And to begin the second round, the chair recognizes himself for 5 minutes.
All right, Greg, stop it right there. Everybody, think about that. Think about what we just heard. We've been streaming for over about an hour, actually about an hour and 15 minutes or so.
Yeah. About that
because time. But think about this, and I'm going to show you something when we go over to Rumble because of what she said. But please, everything, the Rumble link is in the chat on both streams. We are going to Rumble. We are going to Rumble because we know if we say certain things here, we are done. So, Greg, everyone in chat, please go over to Rumble. We will give you a little bit of time. Say something in chat when you get over there because this is going to get interesting. I got some things I want to show everybody. So, everybody, we will see you at Rumble here in a few minutes.